Hello world, and welcome back to Zara overview and tutorial series. In the last episode, we took a look at all core Zara nodes and learned how to save and restore Zara state. Today, we'll take a deep dive into the Zara Health Engine. This will be the long one, so let's go. Everything health related is located in Zara Health Engine folder. Inside Side Effects folder, you'll find a number of side effects controllers. We'll take a look at them later here. Diseases Descriptions folder contains all built-in diseases. You can remove them, change them, or create your own. More on this a little bit later in this video. Diseases Stages folder contains all Zara internals for dealing with disease stages, including its flying declaration language. Same thing with Treatment. It contains internals for processing disease treatment. And two classes, Active Disease and Disease Definition Base. Let's start with dissecting the disease. Any disease in Zara must be based on the Disease Definition Base class. It consists of a set of stages, has its unique ID per game session, name, and may be linked to a specific body part. For example, blood poisoning can originate from the arm. Every disease stage has its severity or level of seriousness, from initial stage to critical. It is a simple enough. Disease has on-resume disease and check methods. On-resume disease is being called when disease treatment failed and disease is being activated again. More on disease stages chain in a bit. Check method is called 1 per real second if disease has an active stage. Let's look at example disease to understand stages better. Here we can see how stages collection is being initialized. It is a set of stages starting with the least severe and down to critical if any. Disease not necessarily will contain stages of all levels. Disease can consist only of one stage or have gaps between them. For example, disease can skip initial stage, start with progressing, skip worrying stage, and describe critical right after progressing. So, stages are quite flexible. What any stage consists of? Let's follow flying declaration in this example and see. Every stage can have a chance of self-healing. In this example, initial stage may self-heal with probability of 20%. In case if self-healing chance is satisfied, no treatment actions will be needed from the user. Disease will disappear after the stage ends. Now, we describe how the stage affects player vitals, body temperature, blood pressure and heart rate, and maybe describe some additional effects like chance of blackouts, chance of dizziness, chance of cough, chance of sneeze, and additional stamina drain. And we must say after what time stage will reach its peak and for how long the stage will last overall. You can choose to say will last until end, and this means that this stage will not end unless healed. It is often used with daily stages. We'll talk about them in a second. If you'll choose for last stage to last particular number of hours, it will result in a strange behavior. Imagine that disease goes to critical stage, for example, and then after some time suddenly disappears. So every last disease stage must be declared as infinite, will last until end. Okay, after all that, we can choose to add a sleep disorder, food disgust, or inability to run to the mix. As an option, you can declare the stage as deadly, providing even a custom chance of death, for example, which will be tested against every real second. This is used mostly if a stage is the last one and is severe enough. I mean, if a disease stage is worrying, there's no much sense to make it deadly, but if the last stage is critical, you may consider it. Next, we can choose if we want our stage to have additional water, food drain, or fatigue increase. And now we must describe what are the treatment procedures for this particular stage. But before we dive into this, I should explain what is disease chain and how it works. Imagine a timeline. On this timeline, we have all the stages disease consists of, and we have a time marker. is our current game time. Now, player started healing this disease stage. What should happen? Character is starting to get better. So, disease is no longer climbing up the stages. It is inverted now. When disease treatment is started, disease stages chain is being inverted around the point of the current game time. So now endpoint for this treated disease is a start of its first stage, after which disease will disappear. Every disease stage has its own treatment description with its own treatment procedures, so in order to continue healing, player must follow them. He should correctly treat every stage as disease goes down to its first stage. If he fails at any point, disease chain will be inverted back around the game time when treatment was failed, and disease will start to climb again. We can't go forward without talking about a thing called Megical consumable group. By design, you can group multiple consumable items into a named group if they, by your design, provide same healing effect. For example, we have aspirin pills, red plant leaves and brown moss, and all those things, when consumed, should be treated same by the health engine. So, you create a group, aspirin group, inside the Megical consumable group class and put there these three things, their inventory item unique names. Literally, that's it. You group those items because they give the character same medical effect. One item can belong to any number of medical groups at the same time, so no restrictions here. Zara provides some medical groups out of the box. With that, now we can look at disease treatment more in depth. Before diving in, remember, disease treatment can be as complex as you want, but also can be as simple as one pill to heal the stage. Zara supports two types of treatment, with pills or food that have the same healing effect, and with appliances, injections, bandages, splints, and so on. You can choose to treat the stage with either of those, with consumable or with appliance. For both of them, you have two possibilities: single type of pill or injection, or a combination of different types of pills or injections. Let's review this with an example. Let's say you are describing a treatment for a stage that will be considered healed after character takes one aspirin. What should you do? First of all, you should declare a field where this treatment will be stored. In this case, you should use Consumable Time Treatment class. Next, in the disease constructor, before initializing stages, you create this treatment. In this simplest case, you must pass only stage level for which this treatment is made and medical group of items. Then you must pass on item consumed method of this newly created treatment into the with consumable method of the stage builder. In on resume disease method of a disease, you must call reset method of your treatment. And on check method, call treatments check, passing active disease instance and Zara character. That's it, treatment is ready. Now, when any item from this group is consumed, this stage will be declared healed, and next stage will activate. If stage is the last one, the whole disease will be declared healed and will be removed from health status active diseases collection. Treatment with appliances in this scenario, one injection to heal the stage, will look a bit different. For the simplest appliance treatment, you need to create appliance timed treatment instance by passing to it body part and a nickname of inventory item. We're not consuming anything, we're expecting for our character to inject a very particular medicine, so there is no grouping going on. Body part parameter is optional. If you define a specific body part, injection will be counted as treatment by the stage only if it was applied to the body part you set. Otherwise, appliance will be ignored. For disease treatment, in most cases, body part parameter can be omitted. There is no difference where character injected antivenom, in his leg, arm or neck, it will end up in his blood anyway and will do its job. But you can specify body part if you have such a need. In the same manner, we need to pass on appliance taken method of the treatment to the with appliance method of the stage builder. let's make things a little more complicated. What if you want not one aspirin pill to heal the stage, but 3 pills with 2 game time hours gap between them? No worries, we can do that easily. All we need to change is to add 2 more parameters to the treatment constructor: timing and count. This applies to both consumable and appliance treatments. In our case, parameters will be 60 minutes and count is 3. There is a time gap that Zara allows for character, so I can do this treatment minutes earlier or later, and it will count nevertheless. This margin is described by this constant. It is 20 game time minutes by default. Let's make things even more complicated, shall we? What if we want our treatment to be of not only aspirin 3 times every 2 hours, but also antibiotic 4 times, 1 every 4.5 hours, and 5 vitamin pills, 1 every 3 hours? We surely can do that. In this crazy case, all we need to do is to declare not consumable timed treatment, but consumable time treatment node instance, and in its constructor pass a list of consumable timed treatments. That's something we already know, so make 3 of them and pass them to consumable time treatments node, that's all. Now, stage will be considered healed only if all the treatments in the node are satisfied. If stage treatment is started and any of the past treatment fails, the whole stage treatment fails. Exact same thing with appliances, only class name is different. Appliance timed treatment node. It accepts a list of appliance timed treatments. Zara's approach now is to consider disease healed when all its stages are healed in relation to the disease stages chain. So, if you need to make a 1 pill on any stage to instantly cure the whole thing, you'll need to write a new kind of treatment. But you can copy consumable type treatment or appliance time treatment class and change it a little. All you need to do is to in on item consumed or on appliance taken method of your new treatment do less checks, and when condition is satisfied, call declare disease healed on an active disease instance, call invert on the same active disease object and send a disease healed event, and get rid of all the timing and counting. Well, that was disease treatment, but we're not quite done yet with declaring a stage. After choosing what treatment this stage will use, we need to write and without special items. You can choose to write and with special items and pass inventory items and nicknames here, but as I'm preparing this episode, I'm realizing that this special items thing is not being used in any other place, so it does nothing. Yep, Zara is big, so you can even find a bit of dead code here. Okay, after all that, finally, we can call build, and our disease stage is ready. We talked about a disease that is not linked to an injury. In this generic case, everything must be initialized in a disease constructor. If disease is designed to have a linked injury, everything is exactly the same, except requires body part property must be set to true, and all the treatment and disease stages must be initialized in a initialize with injury method. It receives a body part parameter that must be stored in a body part disease property. That's all the difference. Maybe you noticed that I mentioned an active disease couple of times. What is it? With that, we transition to spawning a disease. When you spawn a new disease, you form an active disease instance. You pass Zara character, disease class or disease instance, and a game time when this disease should activate. You can pass a date greater than the current game time, and in this case, disease will be considered scheduled. If disease must have a linked injury, you also pass a body part parameter here. This active disease instance should be added to characters health, status, active diseases collection. That's how you spawn a disease. Active disease class contains a number of useful properties like is healing, is treated, is active now, is self-healing, and so on. Now, let's talk about disease monitors. What are they for? Disease monitors are special classes that wake up every real second and look at character, weather conditions, and decide to spawn or not to spawn a particular disease. They are located in a Diseases Monitors folder. Every disease monitor also receives on-consume item call every time character eats or drinks something, so monitor can decide to spawn a disease based on this. It's how food poisoning monitor works, for example. Another example is a flu monitor. It looks at weather, characters' warmth and wetness levels, time of day, and if certain conditions are met, decides to schedule a flu disease. It is not using on-consume item. Angina monitor handles both calls. On check, it works in a similar to flu manner, but on consume item, it looks if item consumed is a liquid, then looks at its boil time, and if liquid was boiled a long time ago and where the temperature is below a certain point, it spawns angina disease. You can do all sorts of crazy checks and logic with disease monitors and spawn diseases or maybe even injuries when some particular check is satisfied. To add a disease monitor, you must create a class based on a disease monitor base. Then override check and or on-consume item methods and write your monitor logic. Then you must add this monitor to your disease monitor's node class, so Zara knows that this monitor should be processed. That's all you need to do. Another big topic is injuries. They are very similar to diseases but have their unique features as well. Let's see how injury is being described. Injuries live in Injuries folder. In the description subfolder, you'll find all injuries Zara provides out of the box. Every injury must be based on the injury base class. Let's take a look at open fracture, for example. Injuries have only one way of treating them, with appliances, injections, bandages, splints, and so on. So there's only one simple treatment class, Tools Only Injury Treatment. It has on appliance taken method that you should pass to the with treatment action method of the injury stage builder. Treatment constructor receives a list of inventory item nicknames. In order, they have to be applied to the wound. Allowed game gap between applications is 5 game minutes, but you can change it in the treatment class. If time frame is missed, treatment will be rendered failed. Looking into injury constructor, we have injury name and we have set of stages very similar to diseases. Same thing, stage has its severity level, stages can have gaps but need to go from lighter to more severe. After setting a stage level, you can set a description string for the stage, for you to use somewhere in the game later. Then you set injury type for the stage. It can be closed fracture, open fracture, cut, or basic injury like bruise. That way stages can change the injury type as injury progresses. Then you set stage duration in game minutes, or choose it to last forever, same as with diseases. You can set stage to have a chance of self-healing too. You can choose to spawn a disease within the stage. You can call triggers disease, pass their disease class, and set a probability of this happening in 0 to 100%. This probability will be tested against every real second if the stage is active, and if probability is satisfied, the given disease will be automatically spawned and this injury will be automatically linked to it. And then you may provide drain information for blood and stamina or fatigue increase. Injury stage can affect player's ability to move. You can choose to forbid player from running and or decrease its movement speed. After that, you pass your treatment method and you're done describing the stage. Injury follows the same stage chain invert back logic as a disease. To spawn a new injury, you must create an active injury instance by passing Zara character instance, injury class, body part to which this injury will be linked to, and a game time when this injury should activate. Again, you can schedule injuries by passing a game time greater than the current one. There is no such thing as injury monitors, because injuries mainly originate after falls, combats or bites. But as I talked earlier, you can spawn injuries from disease monitors if you so desire. Now, let's go to the medical agents. If you want some medical substance to leave a trace in a character's blood, you must register it as a medical agent. For example, we have a medicine adrenaline, and we want it to have some kind of lifespan and dynamics. We want a shot of adrenaline to activate in the blood immediately, last its effect for 64 game minutes, and then disappear from the blood. So, every agent monitor has an activation curve. You can choose it to be activate immediately, slow activation, or activate in the second half. When a new medical agent is initialized, it builds a curve based on this enum value, and it monitors what character is consuming or injecting as appliance, and calculates how active this magical substance is. Medical agents operate with medical consumable groups, which we already discussed. All medical agents are constructed in diseases, monitors, active medical agents monitors node class in a constructor. Medical agent takes a Zara character instance, medical consumable group, activation curve type, and a game time duration in minutes for how long this agent will be present in blood after consuming or injecting a dose. To see how active agent is, look at its % of activity property. It returns a float value between 0 and 100. If you want to know % of agent dose lifespan, use % of present property. It will also return a value between 0 and 100. Let's say we have an agent with activate immediately curve type, and its lifespan is 60 minutes. This curve time peaks instantly, so if we look at % of presence and % of activity in 6 minutes after first dose arrives, we will see % of presence of 10 and % of activity of 100. Now we can move to health side effects. Health side effect is a special monitor that looks into the weather, player health and activities, and other game nodes to see if player's vitals correction is needed. Zara provides a number of built-in side effects for running, being under the water, fatigue, clothes, inventory weight, medical agents, and consumables. Running side effect increases character's heart rate, blood pressure, body temperature, and affects his oxygen level when running. When stopped running, this effect slowly dissipates. Underwater side effect affects heart rate, blood pressure, and oxygen level when character is under the water. Fatigue side effect affects blood pressure and heart rate. The more tired character is, the bigger impact on these parameters. Inventory side effect lower character's move speed with inventory weight increasing. When inventory weight is beyond a certain threshold, character cannot move at all. It also affects fatigue and stamina levels. The more weight character is carrying, the faster he gets tired, and faster his stamina drains when he is walking, running, and swimming. Clothes side effect looks at clothes weight. The heavier clothes we're wearing, the more impact on heart rate, body temperature, and stamina. Medical agent side effect looks at currently active medical agents in character's blood and modifies player's blood pressure, heart rate, and body temperature accordingly. If you're creating a new medical agent, you can add here some code that will affect player's vitals for this new agent. Consumable side effects is empty. You can write here any logic to affect player's heart rate and blood pressure when he eats or drinks a certain thing. We looked at all core health modules and entities. Now let's explore a little HealthController itself. The main code that is being called every real second is in check method. It calls all side effects to update, calculates stamina, water and food drain rates, and current fatigue value. Base fatigue percentage is calculated based on the time character is awake, and then it takes into account medical agents, inventory weight, and side effects. Then we run through active diseases collection. We get rid of all passive diseases and collect all the information about the active ones. Then we combine all active stages into the super stage and run some code on it to process new vitals. We do same thing with injuries. Resulted state object in the end contains new health data. It also has a couple of useful methods like getActive or getActive or scheduled, for shorthand to get active or scheduled disease or injury, hasActive and hasActive or scheduled for checking. This class also contains properties calculated based on active diseases and injuries. Is blood loss, is active injury, is active disease, is food disgust, is sleep disorder, Canetron, and is leg fracture. As we talked in a previous video, you can access character current health status via its health status property. Well, that was a long one, but we managed to cover all main health components and learned how to create new ones. In the next video, we'll take a deep dive into the inventory controller. See you in the next episode.